Donald Trump choosing and announcing that he'll basically violate the deal, which is the United States will punish any entity coming from Europe or the rest of the world that does any commercial business essentially with Iran, and thereby Iran can now, if they choose to either stay in the deal with Europe, they will continue to refrain from building a nuclear weapon. Then there's also the alternate. And the problem is, of course, that this both undercuts and undermines the international modus operandi for entering into agreements like this, and sends a signal to the rest of the country that, hey, the United States is an unstable place. You can't necessarily trust their commitments from year to year, which is highly problematic. I think that should be obvious to people. And like I say, it paves the way to war. I mean, you were talking about how we went to Iraq last time. We should also say that not to, I guess, slightly reminiscent of the stovepiping of fake intelligence that led us to the Iraq War. There was a revelation at the beginning of the week that I guess came out of the reporting on Harvey Weinstein, who had hired an Israeli firm to spy and to, I'm not sure what, undermine the credibility of people who were basically reporting on him being a serial abuser of women. And I guess in the course of that reporting, it came up that this same firm had been hired to investigate, smear. It sounds like perhaps from what I've heard from one of the subjects, entrap in some fashion two people who worked on the Iran deal, a guy named Ben Rhodes and another guy named Cole, who was a low-level State Department person, it sounds like, from what I can tell. And the Trump Inc. had hired a private Israeli firm. I mean, this is stunning. Like, this in and of itself, it seems to me, Digby, could have been the scandal of a week, of a month, frankly, in another time or era. I mean, this is just astonishing, and it underlines how this breach of this Iran deal is whimsical at best. It's not based on anything, and that's very problematic. It also sends a horrible message to North Korea, which was in the news this week for releasing 3 American prisoners.
Well, I mean, this is something that I just do not understand. I cannot imagine how anybody in their right mind, John Bolton or Mike Pompeo, Trump, forget him, but these other people who are professionals in this, think that they can do a deal with North Korea, a nuclear non-proliferation deal, at the same time that they've just violated an agreement that they had with Iran, who everybody knows, and this has been confirmed over and over again, Iran has not violated the deal. They've got inspectors in there. People know they haven't done it. They have fulfilled their part of the bargain. And yet the United States, capriciously, as you point out, just decided that they're not going to honor that agreement, and they're going to impose sanctions on anybody who does business with Iran now again. And they're actually going to impose new sanctions, by the way. It's not just the old ones. They're cooking up some new ones. So how they expect to do a North Korean deal under these circumstances is really, I mean, I'm fascinated by this idea. Now, I was mentioning earlier about John Bolton. Bolton is a guy who is not in favor of who doesn't believe that the North Koreans will fulfill a deal. Let's just put it that way. And he has been for regime change. He's for regime change in Iran. He's for it in North Korea. So there's a part of me, and perhaps even I'm being too cynical here, thinks that Bolton knows that there's going to be no deal with Korea, and all of this is a pretext for much, harsher terms and perhaps some kind of military intervention. I don't know how he sees that in North Korea. It's an incredibly dangerous concept. but it's not something he hasn't said boldly and, openly before. And, as far as Iran is concerned, he said just 8 months ago, he gave a big speech in which he said that they should end they should overthrow the mullah's regime in Tehran, and that's why before 2019 we here will celebrate in Tehran. He basically said that they're going to do it. Now I don't know if he will, but that's his intention. And when you've got somebody that's saying things like this, and then you're out there, the same people are negotiating with Kim Jong-un in North Korea, and I guess they figured, he can't read? He doesn't know that this is going on? I mean, it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I've never seen any kind of negotiation like this. Why would they do it now? I mean, this is bizarre.
Look, you recall the axis of evil that North Korea was used as a leverage point for the invasion of Iraq. And it's quite possible that you're right, that that Bolton realizes there won't be a deal, and that the lesson they will walk away from the talks with North Korea, if there is no deal, is that you must take out a regime like this before they develop a nuclear weapon. And because after they do, there's really no inhibiting them whatsoever, and which will become further justification for perhaps some type of strike against Iran. I mean, the idea of Israel, let's say, dropping some bombs on an area where they say that there's already been the beginning of a nuclear program or something like that does not seem very far-fetched to me.
No,
and
they did it before.
They've done it before, and I would be surprised in the way that they seem to be working in concert with the Bush administration that we don't see something like that again. And so, again, this is, we've talked about it for 3 segments here because, and I don't know that we've even done it justice in terms of the implications of this, aside from the appointments to the judiciary in this country. I think are going to be more long-lasting than any we have seen from the Trump administration, maybe any that we could see, frankly, in terms of both durability and of the depth of destruction that this constitutes. It's very problematic, and the next steps are going to be, I think, even more disturbing. But we got to take a break. Speaking of disturbing, when we come back, Digby, let's talk about Gina Haspel. She went up in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee this week, and it's unclear what will happen with her nomination, but I'm inclined to think that the Republicans are in for a penny, in for a pound, and we are going to also have an avowedly torture regime at the CIA. We got to take a quick break. I'm Sam Seder. This is Ring of Fire Radio. Heather Parton will join me in just a moment.